Before we start the show, can I tell you quick about the March issue of Isthmus? It has the full Wisconsin Film Fest guide and what you need to know about the Madison mayor and Supreme Court elections. Community journalism, y'all. Our own Dylan Brogan has an Isthmus tattoo on his forearm, if that's any indicator of our Isthmus love. So don't miss out on this issue. Isthmus is free all over Madison and always at isthmus.com.
Today on CityCast Madison. Summer in Madison means music festivals. Nearly every weekend, there's a festival somewhere close to home, and we are here to help. This is the first in a series of episodes that will be your guide to summer entertainment in Madtown. We start with the classic Isthmus neighborhood festivals. That Day Marquette, Atwood Fest, the Orton Park Festival, and the Willie Street Fair have grown from neighborhood get-togethers into celebrations the whole city attends. The summer festival season kicks off this week with the Marquette Waterfront Fest at Yahara Place Park. One familiar face you'll likely to see at any of these festivals is musician and expert beer slinger Tony Castaneda. He gives us the inside scoop on the free summer festivals on Madison's Eastside. It's Tuesday, June 6th. I'm Dylan Brogan in for Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Tony, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, it's good. Thanks for having me on, Dylan.
Well, we invited you on. You are a man about town, a true Madisonian in every sense.
Except I was not born here.
A lot of true Madisonians weren't born or raised here, but it's your adoptive home. But just going to these summer music festivals my whole life in the neighborhood, I always remember you being there, and you've always played a big part in some role or another. And you obviously are also a musician who's played some of these festivals. The Waterfront Fest is on June 11th, and that kicks off the whole season of neighborhood festivals, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And the Waterfront Festival is brought to you by the Marquette Neighborhood Association.
Yes. So you're pouring beer or something at that one, or just an attendee this year?
No, I'm more or less just either I'll be playing music, or else I'm just a visitor.
All right. Well, if someone who hasn't been to the Waterfront Festival, how would you differentiate it in terms of vibe?
Well, it's very neighborly. It's very neighborhoody. It's right there at Yahara Place Park. The vibe, it's a good vibe. It always seems to end with some sort of a big storm.
What's the music tend to be like? Does it differ every year? Or?
Oh, yeah. The music is different every year. And if you're a local band or around the area especially, they'll like, well, did you play last year? And if you did, usually you can't play this year. So they do rotate. So and that's actually it. I don't want to say they're all in cahoots or coordination, but all the festivals, like when they ask you to play a festival, they say, you're not playing one of the other major festivals around town, are you? Because then it kind of can be conflicting. And not only that, a lot of these places now have these side stages, and that's where they'll put a lot of the local talent, which is good so that they can involve us. And I don't know if they did that just to placate us because people, used to bitch about it. But they also bring in national touring acts.
Okay. It's a little bit smaller than some of the other ones.
Yes, it is growing in size, though.
And there's the Fool's Flotilla.
Kind of a counterpart to the Willie Street Parade. Willie Street Fair Parade.
Very much so.
Then they got the Fool's Flotilla, which in itself is an event that is like expanded and, it's
so we got to tell people who may not know. So they start off on Lake Mendota, and they go down, and people build all sorts of crazy rafts, and they play instruments and are wearing costumes, and they float down the Yahara River and sort of arrive at Yahara Place Park.
Exactly.
And that happens on the Sunday, and that's a cool, unique part of this one.
It is, and the turnout for that is great.
Yes.
Then we have the Fête de Marquette, which comes up around Bastille Days.
Yeah.
Around that thing. And that's in July, of course. And that one is put on by the Wilmar Neighborhood Center. It's a Franco-centric music and entertainment for the most part. However, they will have different types of music. Like this year, for instance, Love and Cup, which is Rolling Stone tribute band, is going to be playing the Fête de Marquette. I don't get the connection. Rolling Stone, so I don't know. Whatever.
Would you say La Fête has become more Cajun and maybe less international recently?
Yeah. It appears that there's a lot of people coming up from the Nolens area, and that is the emphasis on a lot of that music. So, yeah.
Also, it just happens at McPike Park. The Fête does, and it's 4 days long. It starts on a Thursday, ends on a Sunday, and that is, I think, July 13th it starts off this year. And so you got more than one stage. I think, you tell me, Tony, but the young people seem to congregate maybe at the very cool house techno electronica setup that goes on there.
I guess you could say the Fête de Marquette, it's more spread out. They got a whole block or a whole section of the park dedicated to kids entertainment, and the Ferris wheel is there.
Yeah,
except it wasn't there last year for some reason. But I think it's going to be back.
It better be.
So it's a very family oriented.
Yeah,
and I guess you got to say that most of these festivals are geared towards family entertainment also,
and they're all free.
And they're all free.
Yes, and they also all have beer. So you've poured beer at some of these.
I'll pour beer at the Fête.
Is that pretty crazy?
Well, it can be. It depends on the weather, though. If it's too hot. If it's above 85, people drink less beer, believe it or not. Between 70 and 85 is perfect beer drinking weather. If it's less than that or more, people buy less. And of course, this is how a lot of the money is generated, is through the beer sales for all these festivals. The Fête, of course, can be one of the hottest festivals. Until we get to the Atwood Fest.
Oh, man, so many more festivals. Okay, so we have La Fête, I would say, is definitely the biggest one that maybe attracts more of a citywide audience. Yes. Orton Park Fest has been going on the longest. That one has been going on for 58 years. It's also in a way smaller park, Orton Park over, Spayton, Ingersoll.
Yeah, one of the things that you should know about this year is that they've cut a day off of the Orton Park Festival.
Is that for the neighbors?
It's kind of, yes, it's kind of due to neighborhood pressure. There's some concern here, Dylan, which I didn't know about, is that too many people in a park trampling on the roots of the trees. I guess the trees can feel it.
Really?
No, this is true, and this is a big complaint. One thing that people should know is a lot of these festivals initially start off as just one-day events.
Okay.
And then they decided, and I don't know if it was through greed or whatever, or we just wanted to expand the fun.
Yeah.
Yes, more fun, more days.
Interesting. There's so too many people walking around these tree roots.
I don't know exactly if that's it or if it's the noise. I mean, all these festivals have grown. If you remember from way back in the day when you were not even born yet, the Orton Park Festival was a smaller affair, wasn't it? I think it was a one-day affair in the music, but they've all grown and in popularity, and that is because people from around the area, not just the neighborhood, are coming to these festivals. And they're always welcome, of course. But, neighbors and, people complain.
Don't pee in anybody's backyard.
Exactly.
I know. People really don't like that.
That was one of the big complaints for a while. But it's, I think, as I volunteer at the Orton Park Festival where I do some stage stuff, and I think that we run it pretty good. And we're also very conscientious, and we tell people over the stage to, be cool to your neighbors. And
I would say Orton Park Festival is a little bit low key, but in a good way.
Yes.
And Cycropia, they use this
that big maple tree.
They're an aerial dance troupe and they used to use the same oak tree, but they can't anymore because of they don't want to
too much wear and tear on the tree. It's not really dying, but potentially, and I guess they've noticed cracks.
So are they going to be doing something else?
They're going to do it just one night.
Okay.
On Friday night, and the Orton Park proper festival is going to start it's going to be Saturday and Sunday, 2 full days of music. So that is an issue, the wear and tear on the parks, some of these old parks. Now, McPike Park.
Not a lot of huge trees to damage there.
There's nothing.
But that kind of makes it ideal for having a lot of people.
Yes.
Hey, CityCast Madison, it's Michael Ziviak. While CityCast Madison works hard every day to connect you with the stories that matter most, I'm working in the background making sure that our listeners are connecting with the best that Madison has to offer. So what does that look like? It means meeting with the people who make Madison what it is. The business owners, the stakeholders, the decision makers. The Madisonians who book the concerts you enjoy, the exhibits you can't miss, and who open the new restaurants you have to try. If this sounds like you, let me help you get your message out to the city's best audience with an ad right here on the CityCast Madison podcast. Shoot me an email at ads@citycast.fm and let's connect.
Now, you brought up another festival at Atwood Fest,
Yes.
but I kind of think of the Willie Street Fair as the end of the festival season, kind of the official end of summer. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yes. I mean, Atwood Fest comes at the end of July, all right?
Okay.
But
that's in
actually,
between.
Atwood Fest started for a long time. It's been 40-something years ago, because I remember playing that festival in the late 70s.
Okay, so tell us where Atwood Fest. That's in between Lafayette and Orton Park Fest.
Yes. It's on Atwood Avenue. They're right at Shakes Corners all the way down towards the Barrymore Theater. And they have 3 stages there.
And is that mostly local bands too, or do they have...
Oh, no. They bring in... There is a lot of local bands, though,
Yeah.
some of the big things. But they'll bring in a couple of headliners, especially at the rock stage, you know. But yeah, that is a lot more locally focused in terms of the music.
Yeah, and that one's the hot one, I'd say.
It's, hot in terms of temperature, yes, because you're on hot concrete at, the end of July.
All right, well, let's talk about the end of the whole neighborhood festival season. That's the Willie Street Fair, and
Yes.
that one has a very different vibe. It's more spread out along 3 blocks of Willie Street, and there's a lot of vendors and stuff. Of course, there's also music there too, right?
Yes. And there's big music. There's a lot of local bands, but then they'll bring in 1 or 2 big bands. Back in the day when the University of Wisconsin had the World Music Festival that was organizing that, they were generous enough to sponsor the music lineup on Saturdays, which was amazing because you had all these great groups from throughout the world playing at Willie Street Fair. So it's a treat. Yeah. Now, and that's one thing I want to say about all the festivals overall is that we present some really good music. Now, people have been complaining. There were meetings before about, there's too many festivals and I've got festival fatigue, whatever that is.
Whoa.
Do you know of
festival
anybody who
fatigue?
ever died of festival fatigue?
Well, I mean, it's kind of this cherished part of Madison's summers is that there are these festivals, but I guess the organizers, it can get a little heated.
Well, it's not for the organizers. It's for neighbors,
So the neighbors, they think it's too much around.
Yes, it's too much. Yeah. Too much music all the time, and I can hear it in my backyard. And I'm like, yeah, but you're listening to a class act from New Orleans or whatever, or France. What do you mean? And and it's free, and that's the thing. I mean, there have been some complaints as we've been going through these things.
Well, you look at Lollapalooza and Coachella and all these other big national. I mean, they cost a lot of money to go to.
They do.
And people pay even more to go VIP so they don't have to wait in line and get beer quicker, right? And
people don't know some of the bands that play at these festivals actually play at those festivals too. So you're going to pay a whole bunch of money to see them. And I'm like, there's sometimes you could go to FET and, Los Lobos will be there and it's free.
Yeah.
And it's like, why you should not look a gift horse in the mouth. The fact that we have this free entertainment, it builds community. As a musician, for me, I look at it as a blessing. So the Willie Street Fair, though, is kind of, I guess, one of the oldest ones also. Okay.
Oh,
it's been
it
around
has
for a
some
really long time.
humble roots, too.
It actually started, it started right in front of the Crystal Corner Bar, I believe, on that block. And there was, when they decided to have this back in the day, there was neighbors that were concerned about it. And, of course, now they've moved down the block. I used to work at this fair a long time ago. I used to be a stage manager and get paid to do it. Get all the bands, get everybody up there on time, and make sure that the event ran smoothly,
Yeah.
So,
well, and a big highlight, at least, of the Willie Street Fair is the cool parade that happens every year.
of course, the Willie Street
And
Parade. I mean, yes,
the
people
best
come
part
from
of
all
summer.
over the place to go to that and be part of that. And it gets better every year. It gets bigger every year.
you were like marshalling it last year, practically.
No,
Traffic control, at least.
Yeah, just at the corner at certain spots. So we do things, and I like to pour beer on those. And I also, one of the things that we've had at the Willie Street Fair lately is the Packer tent. And that was controversial in itself when I proposed this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't even know. I think Brett Favre was still a quarterback for the Packers at the time. And some people and friends of mine in there were like, we don't want no TVs on Willie Street. That's totally against the hippie vibe. So I was like, no, it's not. And a bunch of old hippies like the Packers.
How would you say these neighborhood festivals have changed since you started attending and helping with them?
Well, they've grown, I guess, and they've been more accepted. Back in the day,
People complain less about them now?
well, I don't know about that, but I just think that more people go to them. They're not
Yes.
just for the hippies in the neighborhood and their families and their dogs. It's everybody comes. Grandmothers, grandfathers. People come from the West Side.
What?
Yes.
You're kidding me. Now, do you think, well, that's good to hear in a way. So, okay, so they're more citywide events. Do you think that that's taken anything away? Are they more diverse now? And
Well, I think they're trying. Certain of them are more diverse than others.
Because Willie
And that's one
Street's
thing.
really changed.
Willie Street is very diverse and attended by a lot of people, and you'll see all different shades of brown and whatever at the Willie Street Fair. It's more citywide and open, and everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
Some of the other festivals, kind of, you're like, wow, there should be more people of color here because we got all these bands from, that are playing Latin jazz
Yeah.
or salsa or whatever that are presented at these festivals. So there is an attempt, I think, to broaden them and open them up. And
because they really, anyone can attend. Everyone should feel welcome, and they are free. And
Right.
maybe it's become less about the neighborhood they take place in, but more about community in Madison generally.
that's right. I mean, the FET, though, when they have that underground tent, the DJ tent, that's filled with everybody. And
It's
it's
fun,
youth.
and it's
that's
fun.
another thing that I think that these festivals have got to do is, well, it's people like me that have been going to festivals for 40-something years.
Yeah.
And we're getting old.
Well,
I hate to
are
say it,
they-
and then I'm kind of like, I go to the festivals every year, and I'm like, who are all these old people? And
Do
they're
you-
all
do
friends
you
of mine.
think
I just
that-
can't remember who they are. So,
Do you think they're for boomers? You're too boomer focused?
yeah, I don't know if they're focused that way, but in a way, you could say they are. But yeah, we need to change that demographic, not only in youth, but also in color, and open up more. And I think it's slowly getting there as I see it. All right?
Yes.
And it's a good thing to see.
Well, and it's something really special to Madison, and we should be thankful for the Marquette neighborhood, the Atwood neighborhood, all that they are in the core of the city, right? These neighborhoods, but they are hosting citywide events now, and we should thank the residents of those neighborhoods for doing
Yes,
that.
definitely. Thank them for opening up their neighborhoods for
Yes.
that. Another thing, though, is I think that the city, though, has been less welcoming. The city has kind of frowned on these things. The city makes things harder at these festivals for the people to put them on. They sometimes require more police than is necessary to be there, to be walking around. I'm thinking of the Great Taste of the Midwest, for one thing, which is a big beer festival that is held the second week of August. The city requires them to have way too many police than they need. It's one of the most peaceful gatherings. I don't know if you've ever been to it.
Well,
but
all these festivals, there's a lot of police officers, and they're standing around having a good time most of the time.
Yeah,
right?
and it's not just that, but I think the sound levels, and they have marshals now or park rangers coming by and checking the decibel levels. It's just harassment, and it's unnecessary. The festivals end at a reasonable time.
Yes.
And it's once a month. Well, now with the sessions, which has kind of changed that dynamic, but
We're going to talk to Bob Queen about all the sessions.
All
stuff,
right, good.
Well, Tony, thank you for sharing your insight and being honest with us about what's going on here, and just always helping out with these kind of beloved
I
traditions.
love it. And thank you for what you do, Dylan, and take care.
That was festival volunteer Tony Castaneda, perhaps better known as a Latin jazz musician and host of the 8 o'clock Buzz on WORT 89.9 FM. And here's what else Madison's talking about. The UW-Madison Engineering Building. Each year, the College of Engineering receives more than 8,000 applicants, but only has space to accept 1,200 students. Governor Tony Evers proposed $350 million for a new building so more students would be admitted, but lawmakers did not include it in their budget, putting the project in serious jeopardy. UW system officials, Democrats, and even business interest groups blasted Republicans for axing the engineering building from the budget. UW Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin says she'll continue to lobby legislators. And do you take the bus? The entire Madison Metro bus network is changing this Sunday, June 11th. Your stop might be different, your route might be different, even the bus number will likely change. and you can say goodbye to those transfer points. For more information, check out our podcast feed for a convenient explainer on the big changes coming to Madison Metro. That aired on May 24th. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Dylan Brogan in for Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this podcast with someone you bump into at Marquette Waterfront Festival this weekend? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you then. The entire Madison Metro Big changes coming to the Madison Metro Butt Network.